Hey guys, it's Molly. Today I'm going to show you how to make ahead refrigerator rolls. This is a perfect recipe for Thanksgiving because you can leave the dough in the refrigerator so long as it doesn't dry out for up to 10 days. You just take the dough out when you're ready to use it, let it warm up, let it rise a little bit, and then you form your rolls. Perfect recipe for Thanksgiving. Get some of that out of the way ahead of time. Without further ado, let's get started. So I've got my sugar, water, and yeast in here, and I'm going to set it in a warm place for 1.5 hours. Now, I'm wearing a pretty thick coat because it's really cold today, and I heat my house with a wood stove. So the warmest spot in the house is right in front of the wood stove. Now I don't want to kill the yeast, so I'm gonna set it on the coffee table, which is enough away from the wood stove where it won't kill the yeast, but still in a nice toasty spot. So let's get it put over there. Aww, hi, say hi. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's been 1.5 hours and I've just transferred everything to this big bowl. So now I'm going to add the egg, the salt, and the melted shortening. It says to add the flour a little bit at a time, so let's get that in. Okay, so I've added 4.5 cups of flour. The recipe says 6.5 cups. I'm gonna see how much more I can get in here. You could make this in a mixer if you wanted to. I just wanted to do it by hand today. I have a lightly greased bowl. I'm just gonna stick that in there and I'm gonna cover this with plastic wrap. And then I'm going to put it back over on the coffee table where it's warm and I'm gonna let it stand for 2 hours. Okay, so it's been 2 hours and it's risen, let me show you, about that much. So I wouldn't say it's definitely not doubled in bulk. Now what we do is you just want to kind of punch it down a little bit, and then it says to cover it with wax paper and then put it in the refrigerator. I'm just going to leave the plastic wrap on it and stick it in the fridge this way, and then we'll come back to this tomorrow. All right, so it is day 2 of the Make Ahead refrigerator rolls recipe. I have already taken this dough out of the fridge, as you can obviously see, and I set it in front of the fire to let it warm and come up to it's about doubled in size. This recipe says that you can keep the dough in the refrigerator for up to 10 days as long as you keep it covered closely with wax paper. I think plastic wrap would work just fine, so that prevents a crust from forming. And it says you have to work the dough each day, work down the dough. My impression is that basically means to punch the dough down. It says so it doesn't become too light. So as long as you don't let it rise too much. So you can take a portion of the dough out that you want to use each day, and then you let that rise for about 2 hours until it's doubled in bulk. Form it into your rolls, put it on a well-greased cookie sheet, and then let it rise until it says treble in bulk. So until it's 3 times the size. So what I'm going to do is I want to make enough rolls for sandwiches this week. So I'm actually going to use all this dough today, and I'm going to put it in this 9 by 13 inch casserole dish. So I'm going to spray this with cooking spray. I'm going to flour my surface and I'm going to dump this out. I've got my bench scraper here, so I'm gonna divide this in half, and I think I wanna make 12 rolls. So I'm gonna take each portion, I'm gonna divide it in half again, cut out 3. How I form it into rolls is I basically pick a spot of the dough that's smooth, and then I'm like, that's gonna be the top, and then I just pinch and tuck all the raw edges underneath the dough. I know this is probably not a professional way of forming rolls, but that's how I do it. You make a little roll. All right, here's a better idea of what exactly I'm doing to form these. I picked kind of a smooth spot on the lump of dough, and I'm just tucking the creases and folds underneath. This is, you know, like I said before, this is probably not a professional way to do it, but this is how I do it. You will end up with a little shape like this. So I'm gonna cover these with plastic wrap so they don't dry out, and I'm gonna let them rise until they are 3 times the size they are now. Okay, so these rolls bake in a 450-degree oven for about 15 minutes. And I did brush a little bit of melted butter on the top. The recipe didn't say to do that, but I wanted a little butter, so here we go. That's weird. Hey everyone!
Hey everybody! Hey Molly, what do you have here?
Well Daniel, I made some icebox rolls, or they're Make Ahead refrigerator rolls. This recipe comes from the Household Searchlight recipe book. This was copyrighted around 1937, and it's from the Household magazine. So this was an interesting recipe. I started this yesterday. Basically, you make the dough and you can keep the dough in the refrigerator for up to 10 days, as long as you keep it covered and punch it down so it doesn't rise too much. And you just pinch off whatever you need for whatever day and rise it and bake it into rolls that day. So it's kind of like you just have your own little dough stash ready to go.
Well, that's very convenient.
It is convenient. I thought this was a good recipe because Thanksgiving's coming up and people gets really hectic around the holidays. So I thought, what a great recipe to share with people, to have a make-ahead roll recipe that was pretty simple. Yeah, the recipe calls for compressed yeast cakes. Now, I've never seen fresh yeast available here. We're in Washington State. Maybe it is, but I haven't seen it. So I just used 2 1/4 teaspoons of regular dried yeast. Now, Daniel, these are fresh out of the oven. So they are piping hot.
Pretty hot.
Piping hot.
Just like you.
Oh, ooh, what can I say? You either got it or you don't. Anyways, you ready to try one of these?
Yes. Are you guys ready?
They're ready. I did not grease the pan well at all. Grease your pans better.
Holy cow, that looks hot.
Okay. So this thing is about the temperature of the surface of the sun. And there's quite a bit of steam. Look at that roll. Holy cow. Let's get a close-up of this. I'm gonna carefully carry it over here. Look at the steam coming off that thing. It is hot. These are literally fresh out of the oven. I'm very excited about this. Now, Dan, so the recipe says it makes 32 rolls. I made 12. So I baked these at 450 degrees and it took longer than 15 minutes, obviously, because I'm not making 32 rolls. I'm making 12 rolls. They're a lot bigger. So your cooking time will have to vary. Just keep an eye on them. Are you ready to try this?
Yeah.
I want the fluffy interior.
Pretty delicious roll.
That was a damn good roll. Okay. You're gonna be the star of the show if you make these for Thanksgiving. That's my favorite part of Thanksgiving, is the leftover turkey sandwiches on a roll like this. I mean, this roll's got some weight to it, but it is light and fluffy. So let's talk about the appearance. Classic.
Golden brown.
Golden brown.
Very fluffy.
They are super light and fluffy. They have just enough salt to have flavor. You can taste the butter on them. These are delicious. I could eat this whole pan.
Oh, let me get that knife for you.
Serve these with some butter and honey and jam. Turkey sandwiches on their own. These are amazing. There's a little bit of crust, nice thin and crispy, and a super soft, pillowy, fluffy interior. And then you can make them ahead of time. What the hell? Oh yeah. Okay, so the rolls are cat approved. I really recommend you make this recipe. Would I make these again? Yeah, this is a keeper. This recipe's a keeper. I obviously can't stop eating. There you have it. Make ahead refrigerator rolls, or also known as icebox rolls, from a 1937 recipe. Highly recommend you make this recipe. If you do make this recipe, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think of it. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. I upload new content every Wednesday. Dan and I are always here taste testing vintage recipes.
Goodbye, everybody.
Have a good night and see you in the next video.